All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the School of Health Professions Interprofessional Education meeting for this month, February 2024. I am excited about our speaker today. I've had a chance to learn more about the All of Us research program that is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health earlier last month. And I think Mary McHugh also had a chance to speak with them. It's an exciting initiative that is going on. Tonight, our speaker from the All of Us Research Program is Monica Rodriguez. Monica is a senior director at Pyxis Partners. Now, Pyxis Partners is the organization that is leading the engagement for the National Institutes of Health. They were selected of a competitive process of organizations to help with the recruitment for the All of Us Research Program. I think you'll be excited to kind of learn more about this opportunities of what the All of Us Research Program can provide for both national university students and faculty to both share as well as get access to data sets for a very, very reasonable cost. And I don't want to speak too much to it, but it is cheaper than some of the larger databases that I know we have to pay large fees for to get access to. So on that note, I'm going to mute myself and turn the floor over to you, Monica. Go ahead.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. I will just say briefly, my pronouns are she and Aya, and I am delighted to be here to share a little bit about the All of Us Research Program. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I do welcome you to put your, questions in the chat if you have any, and I will try to field them as we go, or we will also have some time for Q&A at the end. So to get started here, there we go. All right. Give me, see, after all that practice, and there we go. So the All of Us Research Program is, our mission really is to enroll 1 million or more people to be able to share their health data so that we can create a biobank and a database that would then be available to researchers to help accelerate research outcomes. Now, this all falls under what is the Precision Medicine Initiative. So, back during the Obama administration, although this is a bipartisan initiative on behalf of the White House, this is part of the 21st Century Cures Act. That's where all the funding comes from. And we have been going strong for, about 7 years now total, but really doing recruitment of participants and collecting data for the last 5 years. And for the last 2 to 2.5 years, we actually now have a data set that is available both to the public and to researchers. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about that today. But just broadly to share, precision medicine is really looking at these different kind of variables in what could make us healthy or sick. And so we're looking at lifestyle, socioeconomics, environment, and biology. And you'll see that as I walk through kind of what data we collect, you'll get a better understanding of how those things come together in our data set. So some of the unique pieces of about this program and why we're really helping to usher in a new, a new way of doing research in an era of big data. Is that there's, starting from left to right, really that idea of partnership and working to recruit 1 million or more people who really, in terms of the reflection of the diversity of the United States, we want to be able to see that in the data. Now, that is not only in respect to race and ethnicity, but as you can see in the center here, we want to deliver one of the richest biomedical data sets that's available, to researchers. And so when we think about robust data, we're not just thinking about data that reflects race and ethnicity, but also age, income, education, rural versus urban populations, sexual and gender identity. And so those are just some of the things that we are trying to ensure that our data set is representative of. And then lastly, this idea of catalyzing an ecosystem. So really, for the first few years of the program, we have worked very closely hand in hand with community and provider organizations across the nation, and in Puerto Rico, to ensure that there is that effort and those trusted voices that are helping to get out not just the message of participate in this research program, but for many communities, it meant first doing that kind of foundational work of through trusted voices to say, why is research important? Why is representation in research important? And we're really, delighted with kind of the response that we've had so far. As we go into, a couple of the things that make all of us unique, I mentioned again, we're trying to find diversity at scale, but also different types of data. This is a longitudinal study. So we are looking to track folks across 10 years or more. One of the kind of key values of the program is that we see our participants as partners. And so whether that be in terms of as we make decisions, because we do have a community advisory board that advises the program in respect to governance, but also when it comes to bringing information back to participants and what's the return of value from a participant perspective, that's been a big value, an important point for the program. Lastly, this resource for all, and as we get into the data set, you'll see what I mean. We do have a public and free accessible data set. And then we also have what we consider our controlled tier of information that is typically for researchers. You're looking at the difference between maybe an aggregate data versus raw data set. I'll get into some of the nuances in a little bit. But this idea that, citizen scientists to high school teachers to, my mother and father could go in and look at this data and begin to see for themselves kind of how their data is reflected, and how it compares to others that have also participated. That's all available through an All of Us app that participants are welcome to download and engage in with our program. So how does the All of Us research program work? This really kind of outlines our current protocol. And so I'll just walk you through this briefly, starting at the top. So when individuals participate, when we think about what are the different aspects of participation and what sort of data are we collecting, we do ask participants to sign a series of consents, both a consent to participate in our program, but also a consent to authorize the sharing of their electronic health records or their EHR data. In addition, because we are collecting blood samples, as you'll see in the green strip here on the screen, we are doing full genome sequencing on our data, and not everyone necessarily wants to receive back their genomic information. So we do have a consent asking them if they're interested in receiving back genomic information. We are doing hereditary disease risk reports. And so for that reason, we definitely want to make sure that individuals have consented to receive back information. All of that information is securely sent to individuals through their personalized login in the All of Us app, which functions the same way that you would, let's say, for your bank accounts, that you can log in, only you can see that information. So we are not sharing any data with providers or insurance companies or anyone else. It goes directly back to the individual, and they can choose to share that data as they go through their healthcare experience. The second line in the light blue relates to the participants the surveys that they fill out and answer. And so we have everything, what we have listed here are all the different types of surveys, although this is not exhaustive, as we are continuing to develop surveys and share those with participants. What you see here are the first basic 6 surveys that we ask individuals to begin to fill out and give us information, everything from basics about their lifestyle to their family health history, as well as one of the surveys that is most recent, which is the social determinants of health. So this is asking questions about the 12 SDOH, or social determinants of health domains, including things like walkability, access to care. We have another survey that we actually did that we were fortunate to be able to do when COVID first really hit the United States. We already had over 200,000 people who were participants in our program. And so we did what we call a COPE survey, or a COVID experience survey, where we're asking the participants to share with us information in real time throughout multiple points in 2020 and 2021 about what their experience was in accessing vaccines and care, and how their mental health status was at that time, and their reflections on their experience. So that data is available already to researchers. In the following line, in the pink line, when we think about biospecimens and physical measurements that we're collecting, you can see we do your basic blood pressure, height, weight, and heart rate, as well as hip circumference and waist circumference. We return this information to participants the day of their in-person visit, where we are collecting this info. And then we also do, in terms of biosamples or biospecimens, we are collecting blood, or for some folks, saliva, as well as a urine specimen. We store this all in our program's biobank, which is in Minnesota, the Mayo Clinic is our biobank, and that's where all of our kind of samples are stored for the entire program. And then one of the things that we have been happy to see is the amount of participation in sharing wearable data, or especially we have a partnership with Fitbit. There is a select group of randomized individuals from our program that we have actually offered Fitbits to, so that they can wear it, and we track that information. Individuals are also able to kind of sync their health watch data to the program, again, to share that information, and that wearables data is also available in our data set. I'll pause there if there's any questions about kind of our current protocol, what we're collecting, and then, how that impacts the data that we're available to share to researchers. But if we have no questions, I will continue. Great. Don't hesitate to ask more. This infographic really just explains a little bit about the process that we're going through. So starting in the upper left-hand corner, participants are sharing their data. That data is received, it's curated, and it goes through a set of security measures. The Vanderbilt University is the university that won the award to manage all of our data, and they are the ones who are doing the work of cleaning and curating the data set. That is what can differentiates what becomes available through aggregate data in our public data browser, as well as what goes into our tiered data, which I will go into more detail, and that's available to researchers that register. You can see here, it just continues to outline the process of visiting the Research Hub, which I will share with you in a moment, as well as how you register and how you can get different access to different aspects. We do have a projects directory, which you could go online right now and see all the different types of projects that are currently being worked on using the All of Us data set through the projects directory. So to give you again, our goal, and what we are kind of moving towards is to become one of the world's largest and most diverse biomedical data sets of its kind. And we are doing that by recruiting 1 million or more people from the United States to share their data. As of January 2024, All of Us has more than 750,000 people that are enrolled, and over 516,000 who've actually completed the initial steps of the program. So these, the figures that I'm sharing with you verbally are actually updated as of today. And of those participants whose data is currently available through the All of Us researcher workbench, 75% of those, as you can see here, identify with communities that are underrepresented in biomedical research, and of those, 45% actually come from racial or ethnic minorities. So we are making a large effort to ensure, again, that diversity at scale of the participants that we include in this data set. So now to go into a little bit more granular into what is the Research Hub, how do you access it, and really my hope is today that you could see the opportunity that this could be both for yourselves as possible researchers or for students that you work with. So the All of Us Research Program's Data and Research Center, what we call the DRC, that again is managed by Vanderbilt University, they're the ones who curates these different types of data types. And you can see here these data numbers are as of April 2023. I mentioned that only because our data browser, the place where the public data set is, that gets updated about twice a year. But the researcher workbench, where you have to register and just be a registered user, have gone through kind of the process for ensuring that you are going to abide by, ethical standards and using the data. That process that is updated more frequently. So this data really reflects kind of the public data that's available today. So you can see here we have everything from over 400,000 survey responses, over 300,000 physical measurements. We do genotyping array. There are electronic health records that is being pulled on a regular basis from participants that have shared their permission to pull that health data, as well as the whole genome sequencing, Fitbit records. And then some of the new stuff that we're doing as it relates to genomics is the structural variants and the long read sequences. And I will actually just because it may be of interest to folks, I'm going to drop in the chat. We just had an article that was published this week in the Nature journal, and that really kind of highlights that genomic data component and may be of interest of you, especially if your research or your classes touches on that. So just to for a reference there. This again walks through the surveys that we currently have available and that data that is also available to researchers. So the first 6 surveys, which I already mentioned, the COPE survey, which was the participant experience survey that we did in real time during 2020 and 2021, as well as a COVID-19 vaccines minute survey, which was really trying to get a sense from the participants that we had at the time across the United States who was accessing and getting vaccines, and kind of layering that information with what we understood about our participants. I will kind of share you briefly. I mentioned the 12 different domains as they relate to social determinants of health. So we have questions that are touching on these different areas. And you might want to, you might be wondering, well, what are these questions? You actually have access already to view what are the questions that we're asking, and I will show you where you can go and see that within our research hub in case you're interested. But I think this data around SDOH is very interesting, from everything from public health classes to, any kind of classes that touch on the impacts of, social determinants of health in different areas, and across different industries or whatnot. I think there's a lot of relationship with, obviously, climate and the implications of the environment and environmental changes on individuals and their healthcare. You start to see that in some of these, and it's actually been very interesting data to be able to look through. The next thing I wanted to show you here was the data from our COPE survey. So this was, again, our COVID participant experience survey. You can see about how many people, which was about half of what we had, that were already participated by sharing their surveys and responding to surveys. You can see the different topics that we tried to cover in understanding how folks were experiencing the pandemic, and then specifically as it touched on mental health. Moving to the next slide here, as you can see, and you can read in particular from the article that was done in Nature, that in terms of, our genomic data, we are kind of running neck and neck right now with the UK Biobank in terms of the amount of data that we have available, and and the variety. And you can see here that it mentions on the left-hand side, it's only available to the control tier. I am going to walk through and explain what the control tier means and what that means if you as a researcher or your students are interested in accessing our genomic data set. This data set is not available to the public. It is available to researchers who register and who kind of go through the process of becoming a researcher using the All of Us data set. So thinking about our research hub and growing our researcher community, this is where I'm going to take a pause and actually show you the data set. So let me just pull out of the slides here. Oop. Hold on a moment. see. There we go. So, and I can also, you will have access to, all of these links and how to kind of begin this process, through this presentation. And I know Dr. Eggleston is kind of has all this information already and available to share with you. But once you land on our researchallofus.org site, there's a couple things that I want to share with you. I'm going to share first this data snapshots. This link really gives you an idea of and in real time, kind of how we're doing in terms of what type of data is available. So it's updated frequently with where we are at in terms of our data collection. We do have some spotlights on different types of research that's being done by some of our researchers in our researcher workbench. This also links you immediately to the projects directory. This is where you can search for different types of studies and see what folks are already doing in the data set. But the place that I want to really focus on right now are these two. So if you think of the Research Hub as this kind of larger umbrella, the data browser is the free, open to the public, accessible arm of our researcher workbench, and the of the Research Hub, and the researcher workbench, which you see here at the bottom, that is the one that requires someone to register. And the difference is with the data browser, we're talking about aggregate data. With the workbench, we're talking about raw data, and there's many opportunities to kind of build your own cohorts, et cetera, with the workbench, which we'll go into. So if you want to use the data browser, one of the things that a lot of folks can do is they can use it to see whether or not the types of data they're interested in is actually available in our data set. So it is something that researchers can use to type in a keyword, maybe it's, let's see here if it'll let me type while I'm sharing a screen. Maybe not. But you can go in and type a word, type cardiovascular, type, a different specific disease, and you will actually see how many hits you get based on that one. So this gives you the broad overview in terms of what we're collecting, where we're collecting it from, and then what it's classified under. So EHR domains is the electronic health records. You can see all the different conditions, drug exposures, lab measurements, wherever the hits are for a particular thing. This is what we've been pulling and how many participants' data is included in it. You also can see the genomic data that we have available, the measurements and wearables, the data that's available, and the survey questions. And I'm just going to stop here to kind of show you. If I click into, I'm under social determinants of health, and I click view complete survey, I can actually download the full survey questions to see everything, but you also can click in here. So let's see a question, for example, like, people in my neighborhood can be trusted. You click into it, you can see how many folks answered the question, 117,800. What percentage of those agreed, felt neutral, strongly agreed, disagreed, decided to skip the question, and strongly disagreed. And so all of this is kind of available for again, anyone. This is the public website to look and see. But you can also really see the types of questions. So, people in my neighborhood take good care of their houses and apartments. Click on that. You can open it up, see what the percentages are for who answered it. And you can even see a little bit more information. One of the things that is unique about the All of Us data set is that we really do ask individuals when it comes to topics regarding sexual and gender identity to be able to share with us, whether or not it's their sex assigned at birth, versus sexual identity. And so that is part of the information that you're able to kind of view as you scroll here. So this is, again, I am in the data browser. I am in the specifically looking at the social determinants of health survey, but every single survey that we have available and that you can see here, you can download and look at what all the questions are. This is great maybe if you're teaching a class on how to develop, a research project, how to develop questions, and all the kind of ethical considerations I think that even can go alongside developing and doing research with individuals. So the next thing I'm just going to show you, and I'm moving up to the top. By going through the data and tools, you can easily see the different aspects, the different places where you can look. So the Survey Explorer, I'm going to head to the Workbench now. And this is, again, that place where we have the data that is you have to have access to be able to use it. So all of this is cloud-based. We use the Google cloud-based platform. And so when it comes to looking at the data, there is no charge. There's no charge to register. There's no charge to go in and actually look at the data. The place where there are associated costs really comes down to the computational credits that you might need depending on what type of data you're crunching. And that is all directly with the Google Cloud platform. It's not the NIH or not all of us specifically that is, monitoring that or measuring the quantities and putting a dollar sign on any of those. But some of the benefits of using the Workbench and what you and your students can have access to is, first of all, we have workspaces. And this is where an individual can access, store, and analyze the data. These can be collaborative spaces, so you can have multiple individuals who have a shared workspace, which that collaboration piece is pretty nice. We also have notebooks. Currently, R and Python are the two kind of analytics platforms that we use that are available to use with the data, because you cannot download the data onto your computer. You have to work with it all in the cloud. But we are very close to bringing SAS on. If not, it's like already in the process of bringing SAS on as another platform, which has been really exciting and has been a request for a while. So we're excited to be able to do that. We have a data set builder, and this is where folks can kind of, just like with the cohort builder, you can create your own cohort that you want to study that's specific. And with the data set builder, you can search and save the collections that you have built. And then there is a user support hub just for users of the Workbench. I'm going to flip back to my slides just so, let's see here. And probably do this, and here we go. So again, the public tier, what's available to everyone is that data snapshots, the data browser, the Survey Explorer, and the research projects directory. That you could tomorrow bring that into your classroom and start sharing that and allow them to kind of point and click and learn as they go. Versus the researcher workbench. Now, this is where we get into some of the more controlled or restricted data. So we have tiers of data in our Workbench. We have a registered tier. So once you register, you automatically have access to a broader array of our survey, EHR, and then physical measurement and wearables data, as well as then our control tier, which this is where, as you have an institutional agreement, you get access to our genomic level data and then some of our health and lifestyle surveys. Now, all of this data, we are careful, and we asked researchers to be, considerate of that. We are under that 1 million number. And so we want to be very careful of participants' privacy and ensuring that no one can kind of figure out whose data is in there. So they've taken, the precautions that you might expect in terms of date shifting, or rounding up right now to the nearest 20. When we first opened the data, the research hub, we were only sharing state level data. We are now to the last 3-digit zip code data. And eventually, as the data set grows larger, we expect it to grow as well. I'm going to move on here. I'm almost done with what I wanted to share, and then I'm happy to take questions. This gives you an idea of, in terms of access, it's really not just about having a diverse set of data, but having a diverse set of researchers, and diversity across, race and ethnicity, or those who are underrepresented in biomedical workforce, but diversity also in terms of institutions and diversity in terms of career levels, and ensuring that lots of folks are able to access and use the data, which is part of our goal in sharing this presentation with you all today. So you can see here about how many researchers we have already registered, the institutions that are already, have agreements in place with the All of Us Research Program, non-for-profit organizations, and then healthcare institutions. We do partner with healthcare institutions or regional medical centers to actually do recruitment. So a lot of those are actually heavily involved already in the whole program. And then at the very bottom, you can see we have over 8,000 active projects currently being done and over 220 publications. The top 5 conditions that are currently being studied by researchers using the data set is cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, mental health, and then COVID-19. Since 2020, since the launch of the workbench, we really have seen a lot of growth in terms of how many, registered researchers, how that's increased, and active projects and publications. So these have been some of the kind of the goals or the emphasis of the program over the last, 2 to 3 years to ensure, again, that we have that representation using the data set. So the last thing I'm going to walk through is just accessing the Research Hub. And the first step is really confirming the institution's agreement, which we have already walked through. And then you create an account and verify your identity. So this is just making sure that, you are who you are, with your relationship with the NIH in using this. There's mandatory training. And again, we want to be sure, since we are using a very diverse set of data from diverse participants, that there's not going to be any stigmatizing research that comes out of it, or that the data set is not used for stigmatizing research. So there's just some agreements along the way that you use the data and how you use it in presentations. For example, not showing row level counts of 20 or under for the privacy of participants. And then lastly, you sign that data user code of conduct. That's why the registrations are tied to your affiliation with an institution. So you are welcome to scan the QR code. Also, you can go directly to the site, as I showed you before. This again walks through the tools that are available in the resources, which I did show you on the actual site itself. We have workspaces, notebooks, the data set builder, a cohort builder, and a specific user support hub for Workbench users. And then again, our hope is that we're going to recruit 1 million or more people to share this data set. We are making strides in that way, and we are going to see things continue to grow. So whether that's more wearable data, whether we're going to continue to develop more surveys and bring those out to our current set of participants, new types of linkage with external data or even other public data sources, and then the ancillary studies. And I mention this because we already have launched one of our ancillary studies. That study is the Nutrition for Precision Health, that is taking place across the nation. And we are doing recruitment there, and we'll be really excited when that data, this Nutrition for Precision Health data, then becomes accessible. So those are individuals who were already All of Us participants, were asked if they were interested in participating, and if they met that screening criteria, they were asked to participate in one of the 3 modules that we currently have available. Currently, All of Us, for the first, 4 to 5 years, was only available to persons 18 or older to participate. But as of the end of last year, we launched our pediatric enrollment, and we now are enrolling. We are enrolling for pediatrics, just for, I believe, 0 to 4 years old, and that is going to continue to grow and develop in the years to come. So we're excited about that data that will be available. I see I have a question. Linda, thank you for your question. I will address that in one moment. I'll actually show everyone. The last, I think, 2 slides that I have here is just want to highlight, we have a free virtual convention that's going to be held April 3rd and 4th. And this is open to anyone, the public. We even invite participants to join. It's an opportunity to hear researchers share about the data, share about the research that they've been doing with the data, and hear direction of the future scientific kind of roadmap for the program and what are the plans for the future. So I encourage you all to attend if you're interested. And then I did want to highlight, we have a research scholar program, and this program, which runs, we open applications at the end of July, beginning of August. It runs from about September all the way through to May, is an opportunity to be paired for students to be paired with a mentor, and to do a project using the All of Us research data set. And there is some additional components of the program, which includes everything from professional development to some actual skills courses, and that is all something that is free for those who participate. We're always looking for mentors. If it is something that interests you, please let me know. And then lastly, if you want to kind of learn more or stay in, up to date with the news of what's happening in our All of Us Research Hub, I encourage you to scan this QR code. It's a quick and easy sign up. You'll get a Researcher Roundup newsletter that comes out with updates, new videos from researchers, what new data is available, when new data releases will be, and what that data set is. That all comes out in our Researcher Roundup newsletter, which is sent out, I want to say it's quarterly. So please, I encourage you to sign up if you're interested. With that, I want to answer the last question that we had in the chat. And let me, again, see if I can get out of this. Let's see here. Here we go. So in the Research Hub, and I'll just go to the front page, because you may have colleagues or you may work with other individuals from even different universities. The way that you can look this up is you can go to registered institutions, which also happens when you register for access. So this walks you through how you register for access, which I had shared on the slide. But this is the data user registration agreement, or the DURA, that every institution has to sign. And so what's, very easy here, and we'll give it 1 second. Oh, give me a second. That might just be my internet. Oh, interesting. There seems to be a little glitch, which I will have to let them know about. But typically, you can actually click into here. It will take you directly to see, you can enter your institution name and see what level of agreement your institution has. In this case, we do, I believe we already looked it up, and National already has it. So that's one of the reasons why we were excited to share more with all of you. I do see that there's another question. Oh, yes.
Hi, my name is Joyce Williams, and I'm a doctoral student in the School of Technology and Engineering. I did the DURA for National University.
Oh, well, there we go.
I did. So I did that last year, and I just wanted to say, because I may have to hop off to tell Dr. Brandon that I'm available to talk to him about it, because I needed some data, and I know that you need to have a DURA, and National University did not have a DURA. So I filled out all the paperwork. I did everything. So we are already at tier level 3. We have everything that's we need to do for people to jump right in there. So none of the paperwork and any of that stuff needs to be done. Not only that, I've been working with the NIH program and All of Us before it even went national, through one of my other organizations. Monica, you've probably heard of DREF, the Delta Education and Research Foundation. We have put on hundreds and hundreds of community programs on the weekends and things for you. I was also part of the NIH 22 plus researchers. So last year I put on 4 demonstrations of the workbench. So I can tell, I can help Dr. Brandon and tell him everything that I've done and learned from working with All of Us before its inception up until what I'm doing now, and how students can best use it, because I needed to use it for my data set, and I'm living proof that it can be done. And one other thing, and I'm not getting paid to do this, a plug for the All of Us conference. I attended that last year, and it was phenomenal. All 22 researchers of us, we attended the conference last year, and it was amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is fantastic. So you all heard it here. And thank you, Dr. Williams, for your work and your effort to make it possible for all of the basically faculty and students at your institution. The hard work is already done, getting the Dura. So it's really just
Yes.
about creating an account, and you have a very good resource here. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, I kind of made them feel bad. I was like, San Diego State has it, UCSD has it, USD has it. You know, you're right here in San Diego and you don't have it. Isn't that a shame? And so they put a full court press on it, and we got it done in about a month and a half. And to my understanding from NIH and All of Us program, that's unheard of. But as I said, I was being selfish because I needed it for me, whether whether
It
whether the
usually
school
takes
was going to
closer
make
to
use
four
of it or
months.
not.
So yeah, you definitely got it through quickly. That's amazing.
And Joyce, what school are you from?
I'm in the School of Technology and Engineering,
Well, thank you
and
for sharing that.
thank you, in data science. So I'm all about the data.
Well, and to me, this really underscores the whole purpose of our IPE program, you know, the interprofessional collaboration. So it's really exciting.
And the other thing, my dissertation topic area is actually in precision healthcare. And part of that came out of my working with the All of Us program since its inception way back, what was it, 2007, 2008. So at some point in time through all these years, I've had some type of involvement, usually through my other organization of putting on the community fairs. They know that we are an organization of 300,000 African-American women, and we can get the word out. And so all of us, NIH came to us and was like, hey, will you partner with us to get the word out and to make sure that it got out to all of the underrepresented populations? And I was a part of that initial cohort that got it out there in the in all of the communities. And then we started putting on the community programs. And I think last year we did 15 of those. I think that's it, just in case I get cut off.
No. Thank you for sharing. I do see that we have a question in the chat from Mary. Does this system have a statistical analysis program embedded in it, or do researchers have to download the data to run it through their own data analysis program? You do not download it. That is why R and Python are the two currently, R, Python, and then SAS are the programs that can be used in the workbench. And I will say that's also why, we've seen a lot of the kind of supplemental programs that different institutions, because we work with quite a few, Baylor School of Medicine, Xavier University, et cetera, they are making an effort to ensure that students have some of those kind of statistical, and analysis types of classes to learn things like R and Python, et cetera, to be able to access the data set. So there is support classes that, students would probably have to take. But I see a hand raise. Hi, Linda.
Hi, yes. A question and a comment. Thank you so much for sharing. It's great to see how a lot of this data is being used. I joined the All of Us study as a participant when first that was available. So for anyone that's in San Diego, it's available through UCSD. And some of the things that I found incredibly valuable, it's really a community that you're a part of, and you get text messages and you're wishing you a happy birthday, everything from a lot of participating in ongoing studies and surveys, but to be able to get my own genome analysis, the whole genome. And definitely, so I love the way that they first give you like kind of a little teaser, like, okay, whether or not you like cilantro and earwax. And then I'm like, I was all excited. I'm thinking, oh, would this be some, great, hereditary insight? And it's like, oh, okay, that was the starter set. But then to be able to get, I think there were 50 or 60 different hereditary conditions
the 59 base genomes that are known to be associated with hereditary disease risk. So if I could just share really quickly, and then by all means, please continue. So what we return to participants as it relates to genomics is first ancestry and trait data. So that ancestry data is what you might typically think of from like any kind of those commercial ancestry programs, 23andMe, that type of data we first return. Then we return that trait data, which is what, you were sharing in terms of your preference for cilantro, because for some folks it might taste like soap, and the type of earwax you have, etc. Those are related to genes. And then we have hereditary disease risk. And that is, we're looking at those right now, just the base 59 genes that are typically associated with hereditary disease risks, like the BRCA gene that's associated with breast cancer. And then lastly, related to pharmacogenomics, we have data that we return related to medicine and my DNA is what we call it. And so, for example, I have specific types of medicine that my body, because I'm a participant, that my body does not process well. And so if I'm ever in a situation where I need to be, put on a certain type of medication, I have that to advocate for myself when I go into a doctor to say, you know what, my body actually doesn't process that particular, that particular drug well. We're going to need to find something else. And so thank you for sharing that. Did you want to continue though, Linda, please?
Sure. Just to add on to that, I mean, I thought that it was done in a very professional way to share that more sensitive information. So getting the notices and making sure that, yes, are you ready for this? And I think that was done extremely well. And because it was a little bit nerve-wracking to say, are you going to have any of these, hereditary risk factors that are going to affect the health the rest of your life? And but it was really fantastic to get news that you don't have any of them. So it was absolutely worth doing from that perspective. But I think even if there was one, and if there's something that you can do something about, then I think that's also incredibly valuable to receive.
Which in terms of the return of value for participants, I do want to add, I'm mostly, sharing this with you, doing this presentation from the perspective of, we'd love you to use the data set. But in terms of return of value to participants, if someone does receive a positive result, because these are research results and not clinical results, right? If someone does receive a positive research result that shows that they do have a propensity towards a specific hereditary disease risk, we then give them the option. We partner with Color, which is a genetic counseling company in the United States that has genomic counselors for your state that will actually walk you through next steps, what it means, answer questions, provide them with resources, and the program provides for free a clinical test to verify the research results. So they actually will get to take a clinical test to verify their research results that then they could actually take to a doctor. Because with the research results that, they're going to still need to do a clinical test to verify that. So that is something that we provide for free. Yes, please, Najeen.
Thank you, Monica. Hi, everyone. It's not a question that Linda, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Were you still?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Wait, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So I just wanted to say, actually, I'm doing my PhD program in epidemiology, and I'm using all of us data. I'm just getting my proposal accepted so that I can go ahead and look at the data. And so, thank you so much for presenting this for us and bringing it to the university. And I just wanted to comment on that. And having looked at the data and the number of questions that the participants have to go through and answer, it is a wealth of information. And not listening to Linda, maybe I'll consider being a participant as well as a researcher. But so you mentioned SAS. So currently I can only use R or Python. So do we have a timeline on when we can use SAS on the workbench?
Honestly, I can circle back with you on that, because if it's not already actually uploaded to use, it is something that has been in the works for a while. And I think maybe I mean, we're talking so soon if it hasn't already launched,
brilliant.
because it's something that was asked for a long
I'm sure a
time,
lot of people.
and I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see it here very, very soon. I so appreciate Jerry, your comment in the chat. Is this database participating with the data collection from a million veteran program? So we actually are partnering with the VA, and the VA does recruitment for all of us. So it is a separate from their program, but the VA is one of our partners. We work closely with them, and they do recruiting of veterans for this specific program. And speaking of recruitment, just to speak to how participants are recruited, which Joyce already alluded to, we work with a network of community and provider partners. And so everyone from the Delta Research and Education Foundation, to the National Hispanic Nurses Association, to the Association of Nurses and AIDS Care, to local groups of LGBTQA plus organizations in different states, to the APHA, the American Public Health Association, the Rural Health Association. These are all partners that we actually work with to get the word out, to recruit participants. And depending on where individuals are located, for example, in California, we have regional medical centers that are actually the places where you can go in person and participate. We do have some other states where there isn't a regional medical center that's participating, but we do have federally qualified health centers, or FQHCs, that are also helping to do this, as well as we work with Quest in certain states to use blood banks to also do the data collection. So it just is, it's very personalized to where you are located. And when you download the All of Us app and you enter in your zip code, it will direct you to what your options are for participation. Any other questions?
I'll chime in, but if someone else has one, please, since I've already had my turn. But the general question on AI that kind of is related to what you were sharing with the ability to actually do analysis. I mean, some of this data is obviously lower risk than, and other data is higher risk, and in terms of the de-identification and potential re-identification. But beyond Python and R, I mean, and the analysis that's available there, is there any sort of a protocol yet for, maybe there isn't for generative AI, or some of the more predictive models, and leveraging some of the more robust reasoning engines of AI that are available to us now?
So, as far as I know, that is not a direction that we have gone in yet. And everything, of course, is a process. And this is something that is, there we are still collecting data, and at the same time, curating data and making it available to researchers, and at the same time growing kind of the direction of the program. So it's not to say that that might not be available in the future. I don't know. I don't believe we are using any of those kind of generative models, but I do think that the reason that SAS is, if not now, going to be available very soon, is largely tied to individuals like yourself actually making those requests to the program, and and giving them rationale and reasoning for why those things would be useful. So I would encourage anyone, as you are in the workbench, or you're kind of browsing through the data, if you see things that would be helpful, or programs like you mentioned, or platforms that would be helpful, I think that is how that thing change happens, is just by many voices saying, hey, this would be a really great for us to use in X way. And then they just, kind of review the kind of safety of running, participant data through that.
Yeah, and so certainly, extremely de-identified and lower risk data, I could see, particularly with guardrails around some of the models, but the real incredible benefit for being the reasoning engine that are just unprecedented elsewhere. So thank you.
Yes, of course. And I can circle back to, I can share it with Dr. Eggleston, when the timeline is for SAS. I really feel like it's live already, but I don't want to make promises.
No problem. I'm actually in touch with the customer care. The office hours are very helpful. They're very helpful. They're very readily, available to answer questions. So I'll email them. I'll email them and see if they have if they have a timeline. They actually have a meeting tomorrow, so I'm joining them tomorrow for their office hour. So I'll find out, and if they say yes, I'll let you know.
Great. Any other questions? Hopefully you see the potential applications, not just for your own research, but also for, the opportunities to use it in the classroom. We have many institutions that already have classes that are using both all of us from a public health perspective, all the way through to, on a very research focus, as options in the classroom. And I do encourage you to read the Nature Journal article that recently came out.
Hi, Monica. My name is Arun Kasala. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I missed a little bit the introduction thing on the previous thing because I had another meeting, the SAVE plan with the, like a federal loan thing. So it had the same time. So I missed some information from you. Maybe this question was already asked by someone. I am doing my PhD in computer science. So my thesis will be coming in next year. So can I use this data to do some for my dissertation papers? This data can be used for my papers.
Oh, yes. I mean, there's already, no, yeah, absolutely. You can, I mean, if the data is helpful, you are welcome to use it. We, part of what we ask of individuals who are using the data, if it's in a publication, is that you let the All of Us research program know that you're going to be published, or that you're putting it in a paper, et cetera, or you're doing a presentation. But yes, the data is available to be used. There are some guidance and kind of rules around what kind of data you are sharing. So again, it's that, you can't show row level data that's under 20, and that's just for participant privacy, things like that. But there is a full guide when you register and you walk through the kind of educational training pieces of using the hub that you walk through. There's a full list of what you need to be wary of.
Yeah, this is the second question. So I seen that there are registration paper, like how to register, the steps are there. So once I register, I get the more details. What are the things are there in the data sets, and how can I use those information? So I need to log in to see all this information about
Yes.
these.
So what I shared on the screen was just the data browser, and you could actually see quite a bit through the data browser, but it's all aggregate data. So, and you can't like actually manipulate any of it. Whereas when you register as a Workbench user, you can create your own cohort. You can kind of save that data, and then you can use the computational programs to actually run your statistical models, et cetera, within it. So there, and then unless you're a registered user and have control to your access, you can't actually access the genomic data set. So that's the piece that is kind of the most private, so to speak, that you would need to have access to. But right now, today, you can go and look and start browsing through the data browser to understand the types of data that we have been collecting and what's available. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Monica. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, Monica. Well, I want to thank you for presenting tonight, and hopefully, because of already some great participation from folks at National University, we can definitely kind of see the value and definitely get interest in the buy-in. So really appreciate it. If anyone would like to have access to the recording, you can send me an email. My email is beggleston@nu.edu. If you can't find it, just Brandon Eggleston, PhD. You'll find my email on National University. Just make sure I add the PhD because there's a few others out there. Same name. So if you need help trying to find it, but we did record the meeting for anyone who missed it tonight. But I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, I can make Monica's contact information available, but I do have a few resources available in terms of how to estimate the cost and some of the overview. So if you have any questions, just send me an email. More than happy to help out.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.